Ay bobo, divine all blessed. I promised one of my friend's followers, Amin Set Neath, about 4 weeks ago that I would respond to one of her YouTube comments on my YouTube channel, uh, youtube.com/voodoo Thai. And I promised her that I would make a video specifically to address her question or comment because it's one that I get often. It's been debated, obviously, back and forth for at least the last 10 years, particularly as the rise, the interest, the romance with Orisha Loa continues to spread, and particularly via the internet. As I've said in many broadcasts previously, that I feel strongly that not only are people vetting new alternatives to traditional Christianity, Islam, Judaism, are going back into their ancestry, their lineage. But the internet also sort of fuels this interest in mystery schools, uh, secret knowledge, particularly secretive paths that previously would not have been readily accessed to the masses. So her question was, why is it so hard to connect with the right teacher? And she goes on to say, honestly, she thinks hers is not in tune with her, but she wants so badly to be taught by an elder who loves her and wants her to prosper. And then she goes on to speak about New Orleans and Marie Laveau and feeling a connection there at the heart level, at the fourth chakra, to the city and to the spiritual pull. And it's having an effect ultimately on her understanding and her expression of this question. So I gave it some time. It's been 4 weeks since she asked. I really wanted to think about it, pray about it, meditate about it, uh, be clear about my response. I tend to digress, and I can get lost sometimes in trying to make a clean cut video that speaks directly to an issue. Uh, so I want to take a look at this from three perspectives: the seeker, the perspective of the teacher, no matter what the tradition, and then the tradition itself. I believe there are three uniquely independent sets of protocol that are at work or should be at work with all three. So we start with the seeker, the person seeking the teacher, seeking the mentor. And I often say you start by going to the path, the tradition, the practitioner, even if you will, that sets the example, that provides the demonstration of that which you seek. For many, that's going directly to Nigeria, that's going directly to Ghana, and a specific path and or ethnic group. Haiti for Haitian Voodoo, uh, Puerto Rico, for instance, for Santeria and Puerto Rican Voodoo, and so on and so forth. It becomes more dicey when we start looking from the perspective of the African American. And I've made a clear foundation on my understanding that we were initiated by the Middle Passage. So the missing link for many of us is DNA, knowing who you are, what path you're truly seeking. Seek out those people, that community, those leaders, those elders, and then adhere to their tradition. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into tradition as a separate matter. But be clear as the seeker what it is you want, what it is you're trying to get knowledge of, what it is you're trying to have access to. And many of you are coming by way of the quote unquote psychic channels. readings, getting work done to address emergencies, difficult situations, blocks, things of that nature. And your overall line of consciousness is not necessarily about committing to that path, to that tradition, learning that language, learning the philosophy, the gods, the goddesses, the understanding of that path and practitioner whom you sought. So that's an issue with the seeker who wants quick, immediate access to things that we've worked decades to gain knowledge of, to gain experience in, to gain mastery in. There's also a vanity that comes with the internet. Uh, the seeker who originally comes in an urgent situation then needs reading, quite possibly work. And then on the rare occasion, will come to you and suggest they want to initiate, they want to learn. And then 28 days or less out of the gate, they haven't even completed the process. They don't even have the implements that are gifted, earned to every initiate who's officially brought into these traditions. And now you're operating as a master teacher. Now you're selling services. Now you're trying to teach and promote yourself as self-taught. And there is no self-taught in these traditions. If you want to represent some new world order path or tradition, that's great. I'm not here to argue and to debate that. But you cannot claim ownership, title, position in these well-established ancient traditions without following certain protocol. So that becomes an issue with the seeker. And the seeker of today's, particularly today's Western American mindset, wants the easy way to everything. The Abyssinian reggae group has a song from the 70s, 1995 plus tax. You know, we can get anything we want, buy anything we want. You can be younger, beautiful, sexier, healthier, richer. Just send us your 1995, and we can sort of fix it for you. And it's a poison. It's a cancer, particularly when we bring that mentality into these traditions and trying to gain access to these traditions seriously and in earnest. There is the position of the teacher, uh, making that segue, who then has to figure all of that out. And particularly if you're talking about a teacher, a practitioner, whatever the path, whatever the tradition, who might be well versed, well established, well experienced, who may be dealing with a lot of people. They have a limited amount of time to sort of come to that understanding. And in terms of intent, motive, when some people come and say, hey, I'm here, I have a question, and they really want a reading. I need a reading, but they really need work done. I'm here for work done, and they're really trying to get access into the practice, but by way of the shortcut. And you've heard me talk about the shortcut in other videos. The third tier of this discussion is tradition. You as a seeker have your protocols and your expectations, no matter how realistic or how founded or how well grounded. The seeker, the teacher has their own tier of protocol. They may expect a certain way of communicating, a certain donation for coming into their organization, to their temple, their elay, a certain ceremony on a particular day or time of the week. And then you have your seeker that sort of never can find a way to meet your protocol. So then there's the tradition. There are the ways of the tradition that can't be altered by the teacher or the seeker, that have years, in some cases hundreds of years, of foundation behind them that can't be so subverted, overlooked, negated, gotten over, gotten around, bypassed, with no amount of money, no amount of power or prestige, no amount of studying and training or initiation, but through real hard, earnest commitment to these paths and these traditions. If we make it easy, I, for one, beg your forgiveness for that, because it's not. I've given up love and relationships for myself for voodoo. I've given up having quote unquote normal family life for myself because of these traditions. I've given up having a normal way of life, so to speak. And it's often a sure sign of problem when you find that line blurring between the sacred and the carnal and the profound. We already have evidence of that in the church world, in the prosperity church. Where does greed and materialism and power and celebrity end and begin in terms of what's sacred and what's truly holy within the realms of those practices, those traditions? Voodoo, Ifa, Santeria, Lacomi, Candomblé, Palo, none of these traditions are any different in that regard. Any religion can be corrupted by man's ego, man's greed, man's misguided intention. So, at all three of these levels, we must be pure, we must be authentic in our approach, in our motivation, in our intent, and then in our communication as we find our way, speak our way, walk our way into the doors, the gateways of these paths and these sacred traditions. I will have more to say specifically about this topic in another coming video. All is a blessing. Ashe.